So in this video, we will create a 3D character that is animated and that can react to clicks. And all I have done so far is I downloaded a Mixamo character and I dropped it into my scene here. Now, using Needle Engine allows us to use the powerful animation system that Unity has. For example, we can use the animator controller to create our custom state machines without having to write a single line of code. To get started, we can add an animator component to our character. And to quickly create a new animator controller, we can simply drag and drop our first animation on the same object. When we now double-click the controller, the animator controller window at the bottom shows our animation state machine. By default, it has an AnyState state, an entry state, and, well, a default state. In my case, I dropped the idle animation, so this state is named idle. Usually it's the name of the animation that you dropped, or when you create a new state, well, it's just named new state. Well, this is already enough for our character to move in the browser. Let's check it out. And okay, it's very subtle, but you can see the idle animation is clearly playing. Now, if we want our character to react to clicks, what we can do is we can just add a button component to the object that we want to click on. And we want to click on the character. So we create a button component. And in the onClick event, we create a new event listener and assign our animator component. Next, we select the animator and say we want to set a trigger when we click on the object. We will call our trigger click. Now, our animator controller doesn't have a click parameter yet. We can create one by clicking on the plus icon and select trigger. And let's call it click as well. Make sure this is the same name as you just entered into the button component. Now, when we click on our character, we want it to wave. I already downloaded a wave animation, so I drag it into my controller to create a new animation state. Then I right-click on my state and make a transition to my waving state. To decide when the transition should happen, I can just click on this arrow to show more options. So first of all, we know we want a condition. We only want the transition to happen when we click on the character. So let's add the condition, and since we only have the click right now, just one parameter, it will automatically just select that. Next thing is make sure that our transition has exit time is disabled. The exit time means that the transition will happen at the end of the animation. In this case, it would mean when the idle animation has finished playing, it would go to the waving animation. But this is not what we want. We want the transition to happen immediately when the click condition is true. So we set the exit time to false. We can also configure like a duration, which is basically the blending from one state to the other. By default, this is 1.2.5 seconds, which is fine in our case. And the last thing that we need to do is we need to make a new transition back to the idle state. And this transition has no condition, and we want to transition back to idle when waving has finished. So in this case, exit time needs to be true. One thing that we still need to do is we create an empty parent for our character. We can give it whatever name we like and add an object Raycaster component. With all that set up, we can click export. And if we've done everything right, we should see our character waving when we click on it. And there we go. That's how you can easily create content for the web without having to write a single line of code.